what's that all about? How's everybody tonight? I got some good news and bad news. The good news is, the bad news is we sold out of books. But the good news on the road book events, yes!
There's one left.
Oh, there's one left. But also there's copies from Carol Hoenig back there. I'm Carol Hoenig. So, if you need a reading material, I'm just saying. Let's see, what else? Did everybody get refreshments from next door?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, as you can tell, we're very excited, and this is so lovely to see you and to have you join us and have your family here. So like I said, I'm Carol Hoenig. How many were here a couple of weeks ago when no one's going to raise their hand. I had a nice turnout. Thank you. All the way to the back. Yes! No, thank you so much. Yeah, and how many remember Turn of the Corkscrew Books and Wine? The book, there we go. Yeah, my business partner and I, we owned a bookstore in Rockville Center called Turn of the We had a wine bar. We lasted about 4 years.
That's great.
So, yeah. But yeah, here we are. I'm an author, and I'm also a publishing consultant, and I do a lot of these interviews. And tonight is really, really exciting for reasons I think you all know. Oh, I better stand where the camera can see me. Okay. Yes, we're filming this, and this is going to be on my podcast, or Peggy's and my podcast called Wildflowers Podcast, Books, Booze, and Banter. And it's on the YouTube channel. And I think the library, we're going to send a file to the library, and they'll have it too. So anyway, so now we're going to introduce Heather Aimee O'Neill, who is the author of 2 poetry collections, Memory Future, winner of the University of Southern California's Gold Line Press Award, and Obliteration, co-authored with Jessica Piazza, did I say her name right? Published by Red Hen. She lives in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, with her wife, who's here tonight, and 2 sons, who aren't here tonight, okay? And she hopes one day a dog. I have 3. So, actually, I have 5 at my house right now. So, if you're, just saying. And tonight we'll be chatting about her debut novel, The Irish Goodbye. But there's something else. There's something else going on. Oh, I think I know what it is. So I'm trying to remember, but The Irish Goodbye is the official Read with Jenna, as in Jenna Bush, from the Today Show book club picks a different. So please do me a favor, don't stop clapping. Welcome. When I printed out my questions, which was about a week ago, I didn't have the first question written down, which is, tell us about when you found out your book was picked. How did you find out? What was I can only guess what your reaction was, but do tell.
Okay, is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, if you can't hear me, just let me know. This was 5 months ago in May, so I've been holding this a secret. My wife and I have been holding this as a secret. My editor, Serena, called me, and as soon as I saw her name on my phone, I went to Catholic school, so I immediately thought I did something wrong, because she doesn't usually call me, so I was like, what's wrong? And then she said, I just need to loop in your agent, and so my agent got on the phone, and she said, this has been in the works for a couple of weeks, but we finally got it, everything is ready to go. You are going to be Jenna's October. Okay, and I mean, that was so far beyond anything I expected that I was like, wait, what? It was a complete moment of shock, and but I must have reacted loudly enough that my older son came down the stairs to confirm that everything was okay. And as I was about to tell him, Serena was, in my ear and said, "You're not allowed to tell anybody." So, and then
so
I was like, I know. I said, "I'm not allowed to tell anybody." She said, "You can tell your wife, but you're not allowed to tell anybody because if it's leaked, they can. That's contractually they can pull it." So then I told friends and my family, I have really exciting news that I will tell you in September. I didn't tell my therapist, I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell anybody. I follow instructions well. But like 2 weeks ago, a book influencer on Instagram sent me a message and said, I hear you're going to be, and this was like, a week or two before the announcement, I hear you're going to be the Jenna book pick for October. And I was like, I can't believe I've been holding this secret since May, and like other people are figuring it out. But yeah, so I was thrilled.
Well, when the books came, because they're usually delivered at my house, I didn't open up the box right away, because if I had, I would have seen that on the cover. And so I was like, oh, I should have. Shame on me. But anyway, so I have to be careful because there's so many spoilers, I feel like, when I'm asking you questions. So you have to slap me if I'm, that's fine, So I'm going to be careful. But there were so many details, and I read this book like ages ago, but I had to refresh myself. But you managed to keep everything in check, and there's a lot of juggling in this book. Not actual juggling, mind you, but there's a lot to. There's so many themes running through the novel, and they all feel like they could be from any family. That's what I felt like, which I hope that rings true for you.
Yeah.
The major one, I feel, is how a family tragedy was dealt in different ways by each member. And that's so what it is. It's so, some people deal with it different ways. So could you please tell us a bit about the 3 adult sisters and how you developed them and how you decided who was going to deal with the grief the way they did?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to write a book about grief. My family lost a lot of people, including my cousin Peter, on September 11th. And that's just, I saw the impact of that grief on, a national level, a community level, a family level, and an individual level. And when I began writing the book, I wanted to write about that experience. I didn't want to write about my family's experience, but about that event. But about 6 months into it, I said I can't. I didn't want to spend time there. It was too painful. And so shortly after that, I was with my wife at an event for the JED Foundation, which is an incredible organization that provides resources for college campuses for suicide prevention. And I know people who've died from suicide, and as I was there, I was just so inspired by these stories, and I realized this is gonna be what the event is that has really shaped this family. And I also knew I wanted to write about sisters. I have sisters, they're here.
How many sisters?
I have 2 sisters.
Okay.
Yeah. So the book began with 4 sisters, but that was just too much. Way too much.
It's so easy when you can eliminate them.
Yeah. That's right, I know. It's very true. You get to make these decisions, poor characters. And so it was a matter of, I didn't want it to just be about grief. I wanted it to be a story about a family that I recognized, a family who speaks the same language that I speak. I come from a family that has experienced profound loss, but also has profound love. And I knew I wanted all of those elements in it. I knew I wanted humor in it.
There is, yep.
Yeah, good. So then it was a matter of figuring out, okay, how this loss, this event, how did it shape all of the individual characters differently and in a way that is actually showing up at this particular moment in time, this weekend? And what has been the collateral damage of the grief, and not just the grief, but the way that grief has shut them off from themselves and from each other. And so I wanted the arc to show the characters in these places of isolation and kind of wearing masks in a way, like everything's fine, but beneath the surface they're all a mess. And then, for the arc to be one of like, how do they learn how to remove their masks and trust each other and find that kind of intimacy with each other. So.
Well, that you did a great job with that. And you bring this story from 1990 to 25 years later with some flashbacks. And was it important to you to have the novel take place on the eastern end of Long Island? And why was that important?
I just know that world well. There was a moment about like 2 years into writing the book where I had a panic and I said, I'm gonna set it actually in upstate New York on a horse farm. And thank God a friend of mine said, like, no, you're not gonna do that actually. It's just, I grew up on the water. It's very much like in my blood. I don't live in Long Island anymore, but I love Long Island's landscape. I mean, just from a physical perspective. Also, I think Long Island has a kind of interesting mix of like working class and then inherited wealth, and there's a lot of grit and beauty in Long Island, which makes it a really beautiful place to a kind of landscape to use. So and I also wanted it to, the house in the story is like a central character in and of itself.
Absolutely.
And my family's home is kind of a character in our family. But I think the house becomes kind of a metaphor for the sisters. Like it's a place that holds them. The house is called the Folly. That's like the nickname that the family has given it, and it's kind of a literal folly, right? I mean, it's like. I love the word folly. I think it sounds like a lot of fun, but it's really foolishness, So it's like, and it becomes a symbol of, the house is on a beach. They can't keep, the elements are constantly sort of taking it down, but yet it perseveres, and I feel like that's kind of the same with the family.
Well, that kind of works on my next question, because I found this to be so interesting, because I've done this, I'm guessing everybody's done this, but Maggie, suddenly when she sees the parents' home, she starts to look at it through Isabel's eyes. And does anybody relate that when if you have company coming, all of a sudden you're starting to see, ooh, there's a dust bunny there, and I was like, I can relate to that, because otherwise it was just me there, I'm like, oh, this is comfortable here, and then I'm like, oh, I should dust that, that kind of thing. So I can relate to that when she was looking through it to somebody else's eyes. So that was one of the details that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So let's see. So, all right, I asked everybody can relate to that. Now, was there a specific reason why you had the Thanksgiving meal catered as opposed to the family preparing it together?
That's a great question. I'm like, I think I wanted it's a similar reason like why I had there also be a snowstorm. I mean, I wanted to set it during Thanksgiving, this kind of ritual gathering that is an opportunity for plenty of tension, but also plenty of love. But I wanted things to feel slightly off for all of the characters in different ways. And also, snow is a kind of, can be an impediment, but it's also really beautiful. It's kind of like the water in the story is, the house is on the water, and the water is at once like really calming and beautiful to the family, but it's also a source of destruction and part of the tragedy. And I think kind of similar with Thanksgiving, I wanted it to feel like, I liked the idea of like, what are the intrusive things happening in the family? Because there's a lot of intrusions that happen over the course of the dinner. And the character of Isabel, who's Maggie's girlfriend, I wanted to use her in that way. I felt like she was sort of like the truth teller, She all of the characters have this experience of seeing things newly, and for Maggie, Isabel is really instrumental in that.
You also start out this ordinary day that ends up, starts with a dentist appointment, and then it's frightening thought that what happens later in the day, how that can happen to anyone. Was that difficult to write?
The scene or just that concept?
Both.
The concept to me, no, because I've experienced days beginning with, the mundane and ending with really difficult news. And I think a lot of people have, and that's kind of the way it happens,
Exactly.
when tragedies happen. The scene itself was difficult. It's the scene where Maggie finds her brother, and I, in not wanting to write about 9/11, part of that experience for me was it's just a very painful place to be, and I know there are a lot of people in the room that feel similar, and I was mindful of that even with writing about Topher's suicide. That it wasn't.
You gave the spoiler. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's a spoiler. I mean,
Okay.
but I was mindful of spending a lot of time in that space. I didn't want to, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't feel like the reader needed to, right? I mean, it was like so much more about the impact that it had. So, but that was a really defining moment for Maggie as a character, and so I felt like it was important to show that experience.
Yeah, there were some scenes that made me angry, but I think they were supposed to.
Okay.
Okay. Just let me jump in and say that. So yeah, and one of them is what the Larkins were demanding of Topher. That my heart went out. What he had to accept the responsibility for, which I don't know if I should say.
Yeah, we can keep that.
Yeah, but I was just like, you get so angry sometimes when this happens, and that's when, and another one, how Maggie was forced to talk to Father Kelly.
Yeah.
That made me angry.
Yeah.
It's I just was like, oh my gosh, just my heart went out to her. So it's challenging to ask some questions, as you can all guess, because I don't want to, but let me ask it this way. Did you feel it was necessary, in order not to offend any readers, about Alice's decision due to her health fears? Was that something?
So just for context, the middle sister, Alice, is contemplating what to do with a pregnancy that nobody in the family actually knows that she's pregnant. And that was, I really grappled with that decision. I'm not going to say how it ends. And I've had really a lot of very interesting conversations with people some people who have felt they really liked what happens, and others who felt they didn't. And it was very important for me. I mean, the book does not shy away from controversial topics, but I wanted to engage with those topics with nuance. I was not interested in providing a kind of tidy moral takeaway.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote this book starting pretty much in 2020, in those 4 years, and the experience I had, and I don't think I'm alone, of just feeling so exhausted by the toxicity of our political and cultural world. Became more like the desire to write about a character whose characters, I think, facing difficult decisions in their lives, but to try to have empathy for all of them. I had a tremendous amount of empathy for Alice's husband, for the mother, Nora, and the things that she struggles with. They all have valid perspectives, and their perspectives all come from places, but getting to the heart of that felt really important to me, rather than just having a character's story be somehow representative of an entire whole. These are very nuanced things, and I think that they should be treated as such. So
absolutely. But not everything is dark in this book.
No.
Because you had me actually, as angry as I was, I laughed out loud at one of the scenes about how the wine tasted to one of the sisters. Peggy and I, like I said, we have a podcast, and we do a wine tasting on it. And there's sometimes you're like, oh, no. And then other times, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, I can relate to that. Yeah. So I got to ask the audience, do you know now if I'm saying this wrong, let me know. a Hammerschlagen is? Does anyone here know what a Hammerschlagen? You do. I had to look that up. And does your family play that? You do. It's a game. Do you want to explain it? Because I'll butcher.
Sure, it's a game. See, one of the fun things about being a writer, or one of the fun things about being a reader for me, is like finding those nuggets of like, oh my God, somebody else does this thing, or thinks this way, or had this experience, or plays this game. And you know, I think we all, as readers, have those moments, right? Like, I'm not alone. Other people think this way, and feel this way, or do this thing. But as a writer, you get to then like plant those things in your book, you know, in your story, and that's so gratifying. Anyway, the game involves, you know, you take a trunk from a tree, and you use a horseshoe hammer, and you have nails, and you just go like this, and you try to, whoever gets the nail down the furthest wins. So it's a lot harder than it looks. I'm telling you, but
I think that scene was in Little House on the Prairie.
Really?
Yes, I do. They were
I didn't know that.
Who was going to do, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pretty sure that was
It's actually a lot of fun.
I'd love to play
Yeah.
it.
But I like the idea of kind of, you know, it's more fun. You know, like Trump walking in.
Yes, yes. And did I say the name right?
Hammerschlagen, yeah.
Hammerschlagen. So there you go. Okay. So in the book's description, it says, infusing everything is the grief for Topher that none of the Ryans have figured out how to carry together. So when you started The Irish Goodbye, did you know how you wanted it to end?
I knew that I wanted it to be a story about love and forgiveness and empathy. I didn't know how and if that was going to be realized, but that was what I wanted to write about.
And the characters kind of took the story?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I love when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So let me ask you, did you want to read a small portion to us?
Sure.
Great. The Irish Goodbye.
I'll read the opening page and a half, which doesn't give anything away. Like everyone at the beach club that day, Maggie heard the crash. She jumped up from the sandcastle she was building and spotted her brother Topher diving off the bow of his skiff and disappearing into the blue-black water along the lighthouse's rocky promontory. A moment later, he resurfaced, holding something she couldn't make out from the shore. Alice, Maggie's middle sister, scrambled to the top of the rickety lifeguard stand and shouted down to Maggie, "Get Mom." Maggie hesitated. She wanted to see what was happening with her brother. Plus, she felt confident about her chances of winning the Port Haven Beach Club sandcastle competition. But when Alice shouted again, Maggie took off down the beach toward her family's house. She liked all the eyes on her as she ran, fists curled and arms pumping. From the dock, someone yelled, "Call 911." At the jetty that cut across the shoreline in front of her house, she scrambled over the rocks covered in slippery seaweed, slicing the inside of her ankle against a jagged edge. It stung, but she didn't stop. She hurried up the creaky stairs along the bluff and through the fence gate, calling for her mother. The geese fluttered their wings and scattered, frightened by her screams. She sprinted across the slope of lawn, wet from the sprinklers, and toward the white and blue clapboard Victorian, which suddenly seemed massive and terrifyingly empty. She called out again, and to her relief, her mother appeared from the garden, holding a paintbrush in her teeth and wearing her floppy straw sun hat. Her easel was set up by the lavender blooms she'd been painting all week, and splashes of red and blue covered her smock. She tucked her paintbrush behind her ear. "What's this about?" she asked. "Something happened," Maggie said breathlessly. Her lungs burned from the running. Her mother lowered herself to inspect the blood on Maggie's ankle. "Did you fall?" Maggie shook her head and pointed to the bay. "Is someone hurt?" her mother asked, standing. Maggie wasn't sure. She'd heard the crash and then seen Topher dive into the water. Her oldest sister, Kate, was supposed to be on her brother's boat, but she hadn't seen her there. The boat. Topher jumped in. She grabbed her mother's hand. "Just come."
Would you be willing to take some questions
Sure.
from the audience?
Of course.
Who has questions? Raise your hand. Oh, come on. Oh, we go.
Topher,
Yes.
where did you get his name?
She wants to know where she got the name Topher.
It's a nickname for Christopher.
Is it? I never knew that.
And the book, I originally had the book titled To Carry, which is, derived from Christopher. And so but I wanted it to be kind of a fun, like a more fun name than Christopher. So I called him Topher.
Because it is a name.
Yes.
Look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a real name.
Yeah.
Topher.
Anyone else?
Yes.
So we always joke that the Irish goodbye is actually, leaving a party.
Yes.
You got it going and you're gone.
Yes.
Does this have any relevance to the story, to the book?
That is an Irish goodbye, and I fully appreciate a good Irish goodbye. I have a lot of family here right now, and one of I think it was my cousin said, we're pulling an Irish hello, because I didn't realize some of them were coming. But yes, we're like over 100, and so if you don't know how to do an Irish goodbye, you're like never gonna get out, and so it's kind of survival. And then my sister Melanie here is actually quite masterful at an Irish goodbye. You can be mid-conversation and she'll be like, I'm just going to go, and then done.
In her pajamas.
Always in my pajamas.
It doesn't have, the title comes from a scene between the youngest sister Maggie and her nephew James. And James has a misinterpretation for what the Irish goodbye means, and she explains it to him. But they laugh about it, and to me, when I wrote the scene, it felt like a moving forward for the family in kind of a new way. I saw James. It's 3 generations that are in this weekend together, and I see James. How is this now going to how is this story now going to affect the next generation? And so that's why I titled it that.
There's a hand over there, somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, you pointed?
Jen.
Oh, over here.
Hi.
Hi.
I finished the book, but without giving away too much. Did the raccoon have any symbolic?
She wants to know about the raccoons, is that, yeah.
So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Chekhov's. If there's a gun in for the Act 1 of the play, it has to go off by the end of the play. So there is a gun in the book, and I won't say whether or not it goes off or if the raccoon has anything to do with it. But no, I mean if anything, the raccoon was another part of that kind of what we were talking about earlier, the invasion in the family, that there was a lot of things that they were all grappling with internally and externally, and I wanted to kind of, I wanted to make sure there was enough external chaos and conflict to mirror the internal that was happening. Yeah.
How similar are the 3 sisters in the book to you?
Did everybody give that question? Not at all. She wants to know how
No correlation.
Okay, I think you know what the question was.
So the joke is that when I told my sisters that I was writing a book about 3 sisters, they were worried. Not that they needed to be, but they were. And then when they read it, my sister Melanie called me and was like, I first started reading scared that I was going to see myself, and then as I was reading, I was like, wait, this isn't what happens. This isn't what we're like. And then she was upset that I didn't write about that. They really aren't. They are such a collection of me. I mean, every single one of them has a lot of me in it, and a lot of my sisters, my friends, random people that I have conversations with. They're such a combination. They're really not.
You swear?
How long did it take you to write this book?
4 years.
4 years. Are you working on anything else?
I am.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It's hard to work on it when you're touring, though, right? I mean.
Yes, I just sold my second book. So
Yay! Congratulations!
that's really exciting.
You've had a lot of good things happen
It's been a
to
busy
you.
week. It's been a busy week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And does this one take place on, you don't have to give anything, it takes place on Long Island?
No, it takes place on an island called Winter Island, which is, it has some similarities to Fisher's Island.
Oh, okay.
So another beach
Right.
town, kind of,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, we're looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to doing an event here with you.
yeah.
Anybody else with questions? Oh, on the back?
Being that your book is picked for Janice Book Club, congratulations.
Thank you.
How has that affected the rest of your book tour?
I don't know. I'm just starting it, so we'll see. It's obviously an enormous gift and it is a gift, right? And there's kind of no other way to look at it. There's so many books that come out and are fantastic, and the alchemy that made this happen, whatever it is, I'm extraordinarily grateful for. And when I had the opportunity to meet Jenna on Tuesday when I was passing out the books on the Today Show, and we had this really lovely chat about where I thanked her a lot, and I also, I was just saying to her how much I respect that she's using her platform to encourage people to read, because as I was saying earlier, one of the things that I really hope that people get from my book is just like a deeper sense of empathy for all of us, and that it encourages them, especially during the holidays, to find moments of grace and connection within their own families. We were talking about reading as a pathway towards compassion, reading as a way for us to see each other's humanity and not be so divisive, and understand different perspectives and lives, that we ourselves are not living. It's to me, reading is a real source of or it's a pathway to that. So I'm very grateful that she picked it.
Well, you should be. I mean, that's really exciting. Well, I don't know. I feel like we have a lot of books that are needing to be signed. Now, we were going to originally have you back there, but did you want to just stay here and sign? Does anyone else have another question before we? Oh, we do. We have one right here.
So I'm one of three sisters.
Okay.
Are you the middle, the baby, the eldest?
What do you think?
I think you're the middle.
You think I'm the middle? Why? What are you?
Middle.
Middle? I am the youngest.
Oh, you're the baby?
I'm the baby. Yeah. I'm the baby. Lucky me.
The middle's right there.
I'm the middle.
Really?
You two can talk.
I just thought
You and I will talk.
Is the character in the book?
What's that?
Is the character in the book the baby?
It's three characters, so and we get all the points of view, and yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
I really love the oldest sister, Kate. She was a ton of fun. But I love them all.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Well, Heather, you're a pure delight, and thank you so much. And everybody, give Heather.
I think I do. Yeah. Oh wait.
Okay, we're gonna sign up. Okay, bye.